This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. The Half Past Podcast. This is episode 49, the movie review of Suicide Squad. We will also be discussing the Doctor Strange trailer. I'm Graham Ricks, and here with me is my friend and co-pilot, Ian Jones.
So, last week I was complaining about that AMC Stubs program that they have because I'm concerned that everyone's going to adopt this stupid policy. And now not only is there a quick lane for those guys at concessions, but now it's for the ticket booths as well. And I'm just going to buy a purse. I don't care. I'm just going to take a damn purse to the movie theaters. It'll be something fun like a Batman thing, and I'll just bring in my man bag and all my treats. I was willing to pay them. I was willing to give them my money, but now I'm not.
I remember you at the last podcast talking about how terrible that idea was. And I think it's amazing that they're actually attempting to do something like that, which is just ridiculous.
My worry is that it's going to spread to every movie theater. And so you're going to have people waiting in line, in these lines, where they're already going to dole out a lot of money anyway.
No,
but now you're going to have people cutting in front of them like it's Disneyland.
Yep.
So what if this starts happening in supermarkets too? Like you have your rewards card, but then you have your premium rewards card that allows you to cut in front of other people. And this is just a real dangerous thing. Like it needs to be stopped before it starts spreading to other things.
Yeah, that's just awful. Absolutely awful. So, I love how I was about to introduce our guest here and you just went on a little thing there.
All right, sorry.
Now that we're like a minute and a half in, we also have our guest here, Mark Levy.
Hey, everybody. I would have jumped in, but I didn't have my premium podcasting membership. So
I just cut in front of Mark there.
Oh, that's just great. Oh, man. I can't believe...
See, it's out of control already, even on the podcast.
Control. Oh, man. That's just great. All right, so now that everybody's here now, let's go ahead and get into the Doctor Strange trailer. Everybody get this trailer when they watched? Because I definitely got it for Suicide Squad. I like freaking... It's the one that I got was a new trailer that gave a lot more like visuals and everything. So it was just like such an awesome trailer in my opinion. And like I'm just like, God, this movie just looks awesome. I'm really excited about watching this Doctor Strange movie. I don't know, how do you guys feel about it?
I'm very curious at how they're going to go around the portrayal of magic. I mean, it looks like there's all sorts of different ways. There's the Inception city twisting stuff, and but then there's the more localized, like, oh, we're gonna make little fractal effects in the air, or who knows. It's neat to see what they're gonna do.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed about this trailer is, like, I think the effects just look fun, and I think they really just had fun trying to figure out how to show how magic works in this world. So I think it'll be really cool for that. At the very least, we'll get something like that that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's kind of interesting about this is the movie, I would think, is going to be taking place in the past for the most part because Stephen Strange has already been mentioned. And we've had a handful of Marvel movies since then. Yeah. Where he's just MIA. So he would have already had his abilities.
When did they mention him? Winter Soldier?
Yeah, in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That he was a potential issue.
It's definitely mentioned in passing in that movie.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, cool. I am interested to see what the full explanation is with his abilities, because with Thor, it's just kind of like, well, magic is really science, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's So it's like somewhere in between. But then he definitely is using things that look like they're from the comic books, like actual spells around his hands.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I know very little about Doctor Strange. I believe I had like a roommate who was more of a comic book guy than I was, and he had like a couple comics that I've read through, and that's about it. So I've know very little about Doctor Strange. So I'm actually really interested to learn more about this character in this movie. I think it'll be fun.
Agreed.
And I'll say that this was the right guy to get for this part.
I think so
Cumberbatch. Too. I think when it came up, everyone was like, all the fans were rooting for him even before like his name was in the mix. That he's got to play a superhero at some point. This is the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Anything else, Mark?
No, I'm just looking forward to it. I'm in the same boat as you guys. He's just not a guy I know a lot about. I've seen some stuff in animated movies and cartoons, but not enough to know.
Yeah, it's kind of this is where Marvel's starting to get along the lines of those like fringe characters that aren't like, they're sort of known but not really kind of thing.
Well, this is kind of how Marvel's gotten big.
Yeah, right.
Is with these guys. It's with Iron Man. It's with Ant-Man. It's with some characters that you just don't see stuff for.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome. And the way they've been dealing with all these characters is so well done. I do have one question though. Did Marvel get a new logo for Marvel Studios? Did you see that?
They did.
Okay, because I was like, before it usually just says Marvel and that's like it, but this one actually is a Marvel Studios logo, and so they add the little studios onto it, and I was just like, oh wait, I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've seen that logo. So that is a new logo then, Mark?
Yep, I kind of like the old one, but the one version I saw was just extremely long and drawn out.
Yeah.
Like the actual video of it, so if they condense it, I'll like it better.
All right, cool.
I like the 3D letters though with the pages mapped. Yeah. I think that's a mistake to go away from that, but I
feel like they'll still have that, right?
Right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the movie they'll still have that, but they definitely have like this new Marvel Studios logo that I thought was interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
good.
I guess if nobody has anything else, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we're going to get into Suicide Squad.
All right.
A secret government agency recruits imprisoned supervillains to execute dangerous black ops missions in exchange for clemency. Clemency. There we go. I got it there. This movie is directed by David Ayer, who is most known as a writer, but he also directed End of Watch and Sabotage. Did anybody see End of Watch?
I did not.
No.
It's another Gyllenhaal movie, so I know Ian probably hasn't seen it.
And there's the truth of it.
Yeah, it's actually a good little movie. I actually enjoyed End of Watch. It's a different type of movie. It's like, it's very contained, but it's a day on a life type movie that I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. I'm just shaking my head at you. This is really bad. This is really bad. And then I shake my head and no one can see me doing it. You guys can see me on the cameras.
Fantastic. This movie starring Will Smith as Deadshot. I don't think I need to really explain who Will Smith is and what movies he's been in, because he is extremely popular. And one thing I enjoy about this movie is I feel like he still has it.
Nice. Back to save our summers.
It's just a little. He still has it, even though he's been taking a break. So I'm gonna say Bad Boys, Ali, and The Pursuit of Happiness, which is a very weird
It's quite the spectrum you've given him.
What about Wild Wild West?
Wild Wild West is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's really bad. Oh man. Jared Leto as Joker, who is number 2 on this list and is not in it very often at all, which is very interesting. But he plays Joker. He's in Prefontaine, Fight Club, American Psycho, and he's also a musician, if you want to call it that. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. She was in The Wolf of Wall Street, Focus, and The Big Short. Joel Kinnaman is Colonel Rick Flag. He was in Easy Money. He was in the TV series The Killing, which is actually a fun little series that's, I believe, is all available on Netflix if everybody wants to watch kind of a weird crime drama. And, of course, he was RoboCop in 2014, which I believe all of us went to go see.
We did.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Which, that is another one of those movies that was just like, it was like, okay. You're just like, Another remake that didn't really improve anything. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. She was in Kate and Leopold, Far From Heaven, and of course she's been in Law and Order a ton. Jai Courtney as Digger Harkness, also known as Captain Boomerang. He was in Spartacus, Blood and Sand, Divergent, Terminator Genesis. From last summer, Terminator Genesis?
Yes, sir.
Which was not bad. It was an okay little Terminator movie.
What?
It was okay.
It was terrible. It was franchise killing.
It was
what
okay.
Do you mean it was okay? It killed the franchise.
It was on par with its predecessor.
I think it was.
There are not going to be any more Terminator movies.
Probably
because
not.
of that one.
Yeah, it was okay. It had a lot of issues, but I don't think it was the worst one out of all of them. I really think Rise of the Machines was really bad. I really didn't like that one.
I agree.
Just saying. Jay Hernandez as Chato Santana, also known as El Diablo. He was in Friday Night Lights, Hostel, and Takers. Now we have this name here, which... Okay, I'm going to try, and then I'm going to hand it over. Adewale Akanuya Agbaje. Go ahead. I want somebody else to give that a try. Go ahead, Mark.
Adewale Akinoye Akbaje.
There you go. As Waylon Jones / Killer Croc. This guy shows up in a lot of stuff. He's always like just kind of tossed in as like this side character, and he's just like there, and it's never terrible. It's just he's
the Quantum Wombozi in The Bourne Identity.
Yes, yep, he was in Bourne Identity.
Mummy.
Yep, he's in The Mummy Returns, and of course he was in Oz also. Cara Delevingne as Dr. June Moon and Enchantress is her name. She's most known as a model, which is obvious, and then she was also one of the mermaids in the Pan movie, which was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
She's also got resting bitch face.
Okay.
And maybe that's like the model thing, but
that's possible.
In particular,
it's the eyes.
Yeah.
Is it the eyes that does it?
It's a lot, I think.
She'll
wow.
suck out your soul through her eyes.
Which is why this role is so perfect for her. Karen Fukuhara as Tatsu Yamashiro, or Katana. And this is pretty much all she's been in. This is it. I was like looking at stuff, and this is kind of all she's been in.
I needed someone who could yell at a sword.
I guess so. Last but not least, but I know, well, it probably is least, but Adam Beach as Christopher Wise / Slipknot, and he was in Squanto, A Warrior's Tale, Wind Talkers, and he was an entire season of Law and Order SVU.
He was in Smoke Signals.
He was.
Too. That was a movie my aunt made me watch.
Okay. That's very interesting. I have things to say about Adam Beach. We'll be getting to our quirks and likes here.
All right.
So let's take another break real quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into the quirks and likes. right, guys. Now we're back for our quirks and like section. So let's start with my quirks. I'm gonna just blitz through mine real quick and see how it goes. The first thing I want to say is that this movie seems to take a while to get started. It's like they have to like introduce every single character. And so the movie almost like stops before it starts, if that makes any sense. It's kind of a strange thing, and I was wondering when I was watching it, I'm like, I guess there's really not much of a better way to do this, but it seems like a lot of this information we don't necessarily need to know as far as the context of the movie. So I just thought that was an interesting thing.
Well, I think it's done to make you care about the characters, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, right?
It just doesn't do what it needs to do.
Which is why I feel like it almost should just not even be in there. It's like, I feel like it's trying to do that, like you're saying, but because it falls so flat, I don't think, the way this movie is, I don't think you necessarily need to care about them.
Correct, because
right?
It's the Suicide Squad.
So it's just kind of a strange thing about that. I do have a couple questions to ask you guys, and my first one is, now this is my assumption, but when they gave everybody their stuff back, it was the stuff they had when they got taken in to prison or whatever. I'm trying to figure out, why would they give Harley Quinn her phone back? I'm assuming that's where she got it from.
She didn't. The prison guard handed it to her when they were being wheeled out. He slipped it under her hand.
He snuck it to her.
Because I was curious about that, because I'm like, dang, I swear where did she get that phone from? That must have just missed that little handoff. Okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense, which is why I was going to ask you guys about that. Okay. The other question I have is, why is Adam Beach in this movie?
Well, to die right away.
But why would you use Adam Beach? It could have.
He's such a great actor, you mean? Because you have Adam Beach money, that's why.
The thing is like, that could have easily have been Mark Levy, and it wouldn't have mattered.
The thing is, I mean, he's not an actor I particularly know all that well, but if you
he shows up in a lot of stuff.
But if you throw in a bunch of big names and then the name no one's ever heard of, you know before it happens.
Well, you knew it was coming anyway, because they didn't even bother giving him a title card.
No, they didn't give him a title card.
So this is going to be the first guy to die.
And that could be cutting room floor footage. That could be I mean,
that's possible.
Apparently, half of the Joker's scenes are on the cutting room floor, so it could be a victim of that.
It could be. It was so sudden. It was like, he gets out of it was almost like that could have been one of the reshoots, because he like gets out and he goes, and I think it's Joel Kinnaman's character or whatever, but he says, this is Slipknot, he could climb anything, and that's all you get. There's nothing else, and you're just like,
he's gonna
what?
die.
He's gonna die. And the thing that's funny about this is, Mark, you had me watch the Suicide Squad like animated movie that they had that DC released, and it's actually a good little movie. And the thing that I wanted to happen was to make sure one of these guys just dies immediately, so that because they do that in the movie, that way you know exactly that they could just kill anybody at any given time, and that's kind of what I was expecting in this movie. So the only reason why I'm okay with Adam Beach being in there is I got what I wanted. Like, I wanted somebody to just die. Completely unexpectedly, and it was exactly how I wanted it to work. It was just such a weird little thing. The next thing I have is, am I the only one that feels like the second act is extremely short? It seems like it's like the first act starts and they introduce these villains with Enchantress and her brother, and then you get a little bit of the second act, and then it immediately starts the third act where they are hunting them down. It's like the second act is like really short, so I'm curious where maybe that's where a lot of the cuts were. I don't know. But to me, it was very sudden when you get these villains attacking everything. It just happens instantly. So it's pretty crazy. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, personally, one of my big issues with this movie was the editing. I thought the editing was terrible and incredibly inconsistent. You know, you have all these flashbacks which aren't needed. You know, but you have really weird cuts. You know, especially like to how some of the music is.
Yeah.
And you just have them staying on certain shots a little too long. Like a joke wouldn't work, and they would still be on Will Smith.
Yeah.
And then they would just cut to the next scene. So I thought the editing was pretty weird for the movie anyway. And then you couple that with the fact that they only go on one mission, which I don't get at all. I don't understand why they weren't already doing this. You know, like, why couldn't they have had 2 missions or something over the course of this movie to get to know the characters, but to get them working together too?
Yes. Yeah.
Because essentially they're just sent to retrieve her.
Yes.
And they're actually not sent to deal with Enchantress, which is a gigantic plot hole.
Yeah, that's
no one
really
was going to
weird.
deal with Enchantress. They were just going to get her out of there.
Yeah, which is
because
such a
to
weird
them
thing.
to them that's the more important thing. Get the asset out of the danger.
Yeah,
but the
that
whole
was it.
Right, but the whole point of Suicide Squad is to deal with these kind of issues, and no one was going to deal with them. They were just, oh, that's it, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
right?
they got her. Let's go deal with the main issue.
That's pretty. It's such a weird thing, and it's that whole sequence with Amanda Waller is so strange, and it's just like, what is going on? Why the heck? Like, why would they do that? And then it's like, there's so many scenes in this movie. She's involved in it again, where I don't know how these helicopters work, but there's a lot of people surviving, like, really serious helicopter crashes in this movie. Like, the helicopter falls and rolls a couple times, like 2 different helicopter scenes, and everybody's unharmed.
Not even a
like,
scratch.
What? Not a scratch. And I thought that was such a weird thing about this movie. So it's like, wow, how did somebody not just get hurt or die or something? At least kill off one of the, like, SEALs that was with them. Something. Give me something.
Kill off Adam Beach. Do something.
Oh, it's just such a weird thing.
Again.
I have one more thing to say, and this is more of just kind of in my own weird little opinion, but I almost feel like some of the backstories of these characters, kind of like the backstory with Katana, I almost feel like could have been a movie on its own. And I also felt like even Enchantress probably could have been a movie on its own. I just, for some weird reason, those 2 characters in particular, I was just like, you know, I wouldn't mind knowing more information about these characters. But it kind of is what it is because it is Suicide Squad. But that's all I have. So what about you, Jones?
Well, you know, my big issue for me, which I already talked about, was this gaping plot hole they have in this movie. So, you know, that aside, I really hope that the Joker is sterile, because the idea of those 2 having kids is
disastrous.
Yeah, it's real concerning. I didn't care for this Joker at all. It is not as good as Heath Ledger's Joker.
Well, that's one of those things where that's, like, really unfair.
You know what, though?
Because Heath Ledger did such a good job. Anybody who plays that character after him is kind of screwed anyway. And I kind of feel the same way about, like, you know, what happens if Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to do Iron Man anymore. It's
No,
kind of
but-
like,
Well, the other-
it's like
the other-
Iron Man is going to be one of those characters.
Yeah,
where
and
they are
it's-
going to have to recast. So
Yeah,
is the
and
Joker. That's always going to.
that's always going to be an issue.
Those kind of characters.
Yeah, but I
I
definitely
mean-
agree with you. I didn't care for Jared Leto's Joker that much.
I think-
and I disagree with both of you.
What?
Okay, well, I want to hear what Mark has to say, but
All right,
I
let's
just
go.
want to say this first, because I'll give you this. To me, the Joker either needs to be in this movie a lot less, or he needs to be in it a lot more, because
Okay.
from what I saw of him didn't really blow my skirt up.
Nice.
You know, Heath Ledger's Joker, and these are 2 totally different characters.
Yes,
This Joker
they
to
are.
me felt maybe a little bit more comic book like,
Yeah.
But this Joker to me is on par with Jesse Eisenberg's stupid, version of Lex Luthor.
Okay.
So the issue that I had was that, like Heath Ledger's Joker, he comes in and the first thing he does is he makes a pencil disappear. You're freaking in love with the character right away.
Yes.
And this guy is just like, he's all over the place. And he's like, look at my girl. And then he kills Common. It's just like, what
and then he
the
kills
hell is
Common.
going on with this guy?
Oh, I just love...
Like, I can't tell if I like him or not.
I love that you...
So I mean, those are two totally different things. It's like, geez, he just 86 Common. I'm not sure how I feel about this guy.
Right.
I either wanted to see just a whisper of him, or much more. Like, that's such a big character to just not have in this, to be like a side character in this movie.
Yeah,
and
it's
he doesn't come in and grab me right away. He's just like a guy with green hair.
All right, so what do you got, Mark? What is your opinion on this?
Well, I definitely agree with you. The balance of how much we have of him isn't right. We either could have just almost done without him, but I definitely wanted to see more. And with the comparison to Heath Ledger's Joker, that is an interpretation of the Joker, unlike pretty much the entire history of the Joker as far as source material. He was a very different portrayal of that character. I loved it. He carried that movie. I love The Dark Knight as a film, and I can't stand Christian Bale's Batman, but Heath Ledger's character carried that movie. He was phenomenal, whereas this one is a minor part in the background of a movie, even though in advertising he seemed much bigger player. But he's just a different interpretation. It's like saying Cesar Romero's version versus Mark Hamill's version in the animated series. They're all very different interprets of
Mark
a
Hamill's
character.
is awesome, though.
I love Mark Hamill's. This one is definitely a gangster character. He's got his little crew of people. He's clearly unhinged and crazy.
Yes.
And we get little snippets of that and whatnot. He's devious. He's ruthless. He definitely seems fairly, as far as what's left in the movie, very single-minded as he's getting Harley back.
Yes.
But I'm on the camp of what I saw. I think there was enough hints of a really cool character I would like to see carry half of a movie in maybe a solo Batman film. And I agree, it seems extremely underutilized, and my only negative is it wasn't utilized, I think, as well as it could be, and hopefully what's on the cutting room floor would have corrected that. I don't know.
Maybe. And I think that's probably the biggest issue with the Joker, because you don't really get to know him very well in this movie. It's just... there's nothing special about it. There's just... To me, he's just a side character that they throw in, which is kind of upsetting because Joker's such a major character in Batman and in DC. So it's just kind of like a weird thing. But I definitely understand your point to how this Joker is probably a little closer to the comic book version, because like you said, like Christopher Nolan's Batman series is an interpretation of all those his interpretation of all those characters, and they're not necessarily the actual characters that we know from things like Batman the Animated Series and the comics. So I definitely understand your point there. All right, so what else you got, Ian?
The other issue is, which took me out of the movies, that the visual effects are terrible in this. They're just awful. They're Last Witch Hunter awful, and I don't know what the hell's going on.
I think you're being unfair there.
They are. They're like I remember looking at them. I'm like, geez, these are like those visual effects. I didn't understand why such a big movie. This was like their huge ending, and they just completely tanked either the amount of time and the amount of money they were willing to spend on these visuals, and just were awful. And I couldn't. I was choking. I was like, God, how is this not better than the previews?
Well, what's so weird is I was having this conversation with Mark and a bunch of other people about my concern about the look of the movie when you look at the budget. So this movie, according to the internet, this movie cost $250 million to make, which is the equivalent of Captain America Civil War. But there's a serious quality difference between those two movies. And so it's very, like, when I was looking at the trailers, I was instantly concerned about where this money was spent. And I feel like a lot of this money was spent maybe on actors, which is probably, which is sad, but that might be what happened, rather than enhancing the movie through visuals and camera angles and more camera work and stuff like that. So it was definitely, I was definitely concerned about that at the beginning, and it shows in this movie. So that's kind of upsetting. So I understand.
I mean, it's a nightmare. Everything with the Enchantress and the fact that she and her brother end up being the villains of this movie. All the shots with her are really bad, and
I thought the brother was far worse. That brother, every shot of her brother once he's out or whatever, is embarrassingly bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
There are other shots in this movie that don't involve them that I think are perfectly adequate, effects wise. But good God, are the two of them just the worst?
And they're in it so much, but I mean, everything's like really, herky jerky, and just like not enough time is. Oh,
yeah.
I know what you mean. It's really disappointing. So, all right, I think that's it for me as far as quirks.
All right, Mark, what you got?
Let's see, what can I not repeat? Harley's accent was in and out and all over the place in different parts of this movie. She's got the New York thing in certain lines, and then she's California girl at other parts. I'm like, where are you from?
It's so weird because there's certain scenes with her where I feel like her voice is dead on. Like, it's like, wow, that's exactly what I expect, but it's inconsistent. Completely inconsistent. So you're definitely correct on that. It's so weird because Ian was talking about how they would never get that voice right, which is pretty accurate, but there's certain scenes where she's just like has it. I'm like, that's it. That's the right one. Stay in that one. She has
it on the table. She's got it on the table when he's about to torture her.
Right?
But I think that's. And I mean, I kind of get it that it's tough.
Yeah.
To do that without like getting that actress to come in and dub everything.
Yes.
And she's already ditching her Australian accent.
Yes.
But
to do this,
any one of the voices she chose would have worked if it just stayed throughout the movie.
Yeah, it's inconsistent. All right.
Which might speak to her personality, but I mean that doesn't really get explained.
No, it doesn't. No.
She is a psychologist. So, I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting if like there was an explanation behind that, like there are multiple voices in her head, and you don't know which version of Harley you're getting.
Yes, which actually would have been an interesting take on that character, which would have been interesting, but that's not explained.
I thought it was a cool choice to use prosthetics for Killer Croc instead of CG.
Okay.
He, looked all right in the face. I don't know why he was wearing that, goofy clothes for half the movie, other than to minimize, I assume, the prosthetics that have to be applied.
That's exactly why that decision was made.
But then you get to the finale, and he's taking all the clothes off to go underwater, and you're like, ooh, poor choice. Put the clothes back on, because you look like a bobblehead. You've got this giant head and this dinky little, torso that it's sitting on. Yep. So I correct my joke from earlier. He's not a Goomba. He's the exact opposite. He's got a giant head and this little body.
Oh man.
And beyond the special effects complaints when it came to the Enchantress and her brother, I could not stand her non-stop movements for no reason.
Yeah, she had like this really like jerky, weird movement to her the whole time, which was obviously a creative decision that they decided to make. I just don't think it was the correct one.
Yeah, it's just very, very strange.
Yeah.
But no, other than the bad CGI, that was my last quirk.
All right, so let's get into the likes then. I think overall, I think probably the best part of this movie is that I really think that the characters overall were pretty good. They weren't terrible, but they were pretty good. Like, Viola Davis's Amanda Waller is exactly how you'd expect her to be. Like, that's how she's supposed to be. It's a character you hate, and you'd hate her through the whole movie. And so you also get, like, you know, you get the Will Smith charm in this movie, which is something that we've been missing for a while now. And I think that he, even though he's like this bad guy, he still kind of have this little bit of charm to it that was pretty decent. I thought Margot Robbie's interpretation of Harley Quinn, other than the voice, was pretty good. And I also enjoyed, like, kind of the little backstory with El Diablo and everything, and kind of just getting... He was the only one that actually had some sort of depth to his story, which, again, is also a problem with this movie. It's like, I don't know how much we need to know about the backstories of all these characters, rather than... I almost feel like they could have just dropped that all and just did a fun Suicide Squad movie and just said, whatever, let's just go with it and then be done with it. And it's not even involved the other stuff, but... The one with El Diablo I thought was an interesting little thing about his little detail about his family and everything. And so I thought that was a very interesting thing. And that's kind of all I have. I just thought the characters were decent enough to where I enjoyed seeing them on screen. And that's like all I have. So what do you got to you, Jones?
You know, there was a lot of hype around this movie, and I think the best thing about it by far is Harley Quinn.
Yes.
You know, I mean, she's the character we've been waiting a long time to see on screen, and I thought she was incredibly good. I want to see more of her.
Yeah.
I don't know that I care as much about the other characters, but I kind of like that we got to see some characters that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of interesting.
Okay, so it's almost like you and I are on the same page here, where it's like the characters were the best thing, which is probably how it should be for a movie like this.
Yeah,
if you want it
I don't
to
know
succeed.
that it's just I don't know that I cared what happened to him.
I didn't either, and I don't know if you're supposed to, but yeah, that's kind of one of those things where, because of the nature of the movie, I don't know if you're supposed to. But the problem is the movie clearly is trying to get you to care about them. It just falls flat. So it's, you know, they want you to care more about Deadshot because of his daughter and everything, but you still don't care, really, right? Like, like that was an actual story arc in the movie that you just don't care about. So it's even with Harley Quinn, you have her being upset about Joker and then how she became Harley Quinn and all this other stuff. It's like, do we really need this backstory? I almost just want them to just go forward with these fun characters and then just go with it, which is kind of how the animated, like, DC movie is. They don't really explain the characters. They're just, here's what happened, here's Task Force X, and then they're sent on a mission, and that's it. There's nothing else involved. There is no backstory, and you kind of don't care. It's just fun, and that's how it should be. So, you got any more?
You know, I liked Boomerang's attitude.
Boomerang was fun.
I thought that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Boomerang was lots of fun, and I thought that's kind of funny because like there's an ongoing joke at work with me and Mark about how Hollywood's trying to force Jai Courtney on us.
Interesting.
Bridget is a big fan of his, and will pretty much watch anything he's in.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I think this is probably his best role that he's been in.
Interesting.
You need to watch that season of Spartacus. He's really good in it.
Okay, I haven't seen Spartacus, so I'll have to see.
But I would imagine it ends the same way, right? With him dying or whatever. So I feel like I've already seen it because everyone's going to stand up and say that they're Spartacus at some point. But, yeah. So he's in that. Is he Spartacus or who is he?
No. He plays a friend.
Okay.
Okay.
It is a really fun series to watch.
Okay.
I've definitely been wanting to watch it.
With a lot of gratuitous nudity and violence and sex.
Damn,
but that's how it's
awesome.
supposed to happen. So
if you add a dragon in there,
worth it.
it's golden.
Nice. Oh man. All right. Anything else?
No. Nope.
All right, Mark.
All right, so we kind of already spoke about the Joker, where there was enough, in my opinion, of a taste of the Joker that I wanted to see more. But I guess that's because, at least in my opinion, I liked what I was seeing. So that was definitely one of the likes. And despite a lot of really negative critical reviews, this movie to me was still fun. It's edited fairly poorly. It's got, as we said, like some fairly choppy storytelling.
Yes.
But I had fun. I walked away saying I would watch another one of these. I certainly am down for more DC movies. I think as far as the grander DC universe, it's still kind of a step in the right direction.
Yep.
Different director, different vision, all that sort of stuff. But do I want to see more movies that involve this world, these characters? Absolutely. And I was really pleasantly surprised with the superhero cameos. We knew from the trailers that Batman would be in a part of it. He certainly was in more scenes than I thought.
Yes, he was.
But never did I expect to see the Flash show up, even for as brief as it was.
Yeah,
and we
like
both just were like,
second.
and we almost, my wife and I sitting watching it, like squealed with, "Yay! There he is in costume."
There he is. It's Barry Allen, but it's not the one we were hoping for.
So that was just fun. It's part of their their world building thing, which I think it didn't feel too force fed. It just totally unexpected, and there it was.
Yeah, I did like that little Flash scene. It was good.
So definitely, I would say it reminded me, if nothing else, of a lot of stuff I like about these characters or these stories. So as you had mentioned, that animated movie, I think it's called Assault on Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
Which is, it's a Suicide Squad movie that takes place within the video game universe of the Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah.
That I would highly recommend to anyone who's listening that likes this premise and wants to see another interpretation. That one's a lot of fun. It involves a decent amount of the same characters. Also, on Netflix, they have Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Mm-hmm. And if you want to see a lot of the Amanda Waller side of this story, watch season 2 of Justice League Unlimited. All right. I think it's considered, I don't know if they edit it weirdly. It could be the second half of season 1, the way they release it, but there's a lot of the Amanda Waller, I want to assemble a team. I don't entirely trust that's more of a, I don't trust the Justice League, so we need a countermeasure.
Yes. But
it eventually, I mean, her story spread out through season 2, and it is absolutely worth watching. But there is an episode called Task Force X, where they're like, all right, we're going to put the bad guys together and send them on a mission to infiltrate Justice League headquarters. I'm a huge fan of that stuff. I think it's worth checking out.
All right, cool. Anything else?
Not for me.
All right, I guess we're getting into the ratings then. Well, I am going to just call back to Mark and just say, I think the biggest advantage to this movie is that it is just fun to watch. It is a fun movie, and that's what I was expecting from Suicide Squad. So even though I wasn't expecting much, it still met that expectation because, from my opinion, the only thing I know about Task Force X or Suicide Squad is the DC animated movie that Mark went to me to watch, and it was just a fun movie to watch. And so to me, I feel like that's how this should be. And I think I got that in this movie. I think they had fun, and it was fun to watch. And I think the characters themselves were accurate enough and fun enough to where it it made the movie better. And so I'm going to have to say I'm still just iffy about this movie. I would like to see more. I am like borderline see it on it. Just borderline see it is what I'm going to say on this one. Because I think for what the movie is, it meets that. It's not supposed to be a well done, awesome type movie. It's not supposed to be critically acclaimed. It's just a fun movie to go watch and watch these bad guys just interact with each other and just blow stuff up and have some fun. And that's kind of what this movie's supposed to be. So I'm just gonna say borderline see it.
Okay. I don't have an issue with a movie being made to just be fun.
Yeah, right.
And I think that this is probably, what the movie does best. I mean, there's just a lot of shooting, and the bad guys, at least the ones who are turned over, are kind of it's fun that they just get to bash these guys' heads in. And,
yep. Mm-hmm.
There aren't really consequences because they've already been turned into some weird demon-like thing. So that's fun. It's like beating up robots. No one cares.
Yep.
No one cares if you take a baseball bat to a robot or a creepy demon head with 1,000 eyes all over it. So I am really on the fence about it because I feel like I'm going to buy this movie. So because of that, and I would say because of Harley Quinn, I'm going to say see it.
All right. What you got, Mark?
I'm going to go with buy it for a couple different reasons. I think it's certainly worth seeing, but if someone's not in a rush to go see it in the theater, I don't think this movie holds any secrets that are like, if I don't see this movie, I will not understand the next movie. Like sometimes, in the Marvel universe, if you didn't see Age of Ultron, Civil War would have been fairly confusing.
Yes.
So I don't think this movie's that, but I think it's enjoyable enough. Two people going to see it's no different in expense than buying it on Blu-ray when it comes out. And I think because of the editing, I am definitely interested in potential deleted scenes or extra stuff that could be thrown in, and I liked it enough that I want to search that stuff out. So for me, it's a definite buy.
All right. That was a fun one then. I like that. That was good. We're kind of a little spread there on the ratings, so everybody will just have to kind of figure out what they want to do with it. It's definitely, we all agree that it is just a fun movie, and I think that's what it is, and what it was trying to be, and so it's just kind of how it is. All right, I guess we're just gonna sign out then. So if anybody wants to contact us, you can always contact us at halfpastpodcast.com.
Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes and Google Play.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
Tweet us at halfpastpodcast.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. Next week, Jones, do you want to do Pete's Dragon?
Sure.
You want to do it?
Sure.
Okay, so next week we're going to have Pete's Dragon, and that'll be interesting to see. I don't believe we did the trailer for that one, so that'll be fun.
It's got a dragon in it. We know
it's got a dragon in it. Carl Urban's in it, so that's always fun.
Which version are we going to get, though?
I don't know.
A warrior-wielding one, or is he going to be a doctor? Dr. Urban.
It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know what it is about Carl Urban, but no matter what, I would watch whatever the hell he's in. It's just,
nice.
He's just like a fun actor. I don't know what to say.
As long as you don't start putting posters of him up around that living room, I'm not going to worry.
Oh, man. This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
Bye, Mark.
See you later, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark, for showing up again.
We need to get Mark a sign out.
We do need to get Mark a sign out. Well, if he keeps showing up, I mean, you definitely need to start getting something.
Like the animated, like, the old Batman TV show where, I'm sorry, I don't mean anything by this, but when they would have the Batgirl Like they
Nice.
changed that
Yep.
intro. Like something like that, you know.
I'll be Batgirl. That's fine.
Oh
And
man.
it's like, oh yes, a Batgirl episode.
Oh, that's terrible.
Hey, she's
Oh,
fucking awesome.
man.
I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, thank you.
And now
Thank you,
you get to
for
take
the
out that
F-bomb at
right
the
at the
end of the
end.
podcast, right at the end. Oh my gosh, now I have
It's
to
still
edit that.
PG-13 because I only used one. I used one and I waited till the very end.
See you next flick.